haven't seen that because it's being processed on YouTube, we've just cut that out. Jonny, that's the first time you've seen it, I take it.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking, I was absolutely howling. Oh my God.
Yeah, so we are proud to be in partnership with Manscaped, where you can get 20% off any product. It's not just all about down there. You can also do it upstairs as well. Have a look at manscaped.com. I think Jonny needs to buy one because his beard's getting long. This is the preview, so thank you very much. We've also got Holly with us. Holly, how are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm great. Jonny, are you good?
Yeah, very good. Very good. I'm in a good mood now.
Because you've seen that.
Because I've seen that. To be fair, I've got Fulham Sheffield United on the background, so I'm a bit nervous as well. But hopefully it's a good result for Newcastle in terms of Fulham not picking up 3 points. Yeah,
if you are watching the rerun of this, you might already know the result of that. Welcome to the preview. So what we've got coming up is I'm going to be talking about the opposition, which is Man United. And then a little bit later on, Jonny's going to take over and talk all about the tune. We are aiming for a nice 150 likes. I think that's achievable, especially with you Man United fans who will probably be tuning in. Please help us out. And after this video at 9 p.m, Jonny, we've got a special video, haven't we, on Extra?
Yeah, me and Sam did the Greenwood Mulliner Show through the week with former Sky Sports broadcaster Bryn Law, and probably more recently with Leeds United Television. He is their main commentator, has been for the last couple of years, but he had a special relationship with the late, great Gary Speed. Knew him for just over 20 years before, obviously, Gary took his own life, of course. I'm sure everybody can remember that very, very sad day. He talks all things about the Premier League, about Gary Speed himself, his memories of Newcastle. So it's one not to be missed. It is a lengthy one. It's about an hour and 35 minutes, hour and 40 minutes. But if you don't want to watch Fulham Sheffield United and you're a bit on edge, or if you're watching the rerun, I thoroughly recommend it. It's a really, really good watch.
That's at 9 p.m. on NFTV Extra. And of course, members get a lot more videos as well. If you want to have a look at the join button underneath, where there's tons, it's about 20 videos a month now, so it's really, really good. Keep your comments as well. You have them displayed. Some of them will be read out, of course, during the show. And as ever, we always thank you for choosing to watch Newcastle Fans TV, because you didn't have to. You know, there is other people out there, and there is TV stations and Netflix and what have you. And thank you very much is what I'm trying to say. Right, let's crack on. We've waffled on for a good 6 minutes or so. Let's crack on. I'll come to you, Holly. First of all, with Man United, tell me what you make of Solskjaer and Man United this season.
I think they've been excellent. Just great. I never ever thought they would be challenging for the title. I know obviously there's a 10-point gap with Man City taking the league, but they still are second, and there is a chance that they could still get on top. And I just think that he's done an excellent job this season. It certainly wasn't something that I was expecting.
Jonny, what do you make of them? Because they definitely have improved.
They have improved. Obviously, everybody can probably remember that 6-1 defeat at home to Spurs at the start of the season. I think the last 3 went to Palace as well. So I don't think they had much of a pre-season, Man United. They also got to the Europa League semi-final, and then I think when they were in the Europa League semi-final, I think we were starting our pre-season training. So that kind of almost tells you where Man United were at the very beginning of the season. But they've got a strong attack, a strong midfield now. The defence is still a bit suspect, but no, on the whole, to be second in the league to a Man City team who look really, really good, not bad for Solskjaer.
I think they'll come second because Liverpool look like they felt falling a bit, and obviously they got beaten. Man United second place. If they finish second, I think most Man United fans will be pretty happy with that, considering what they've been through. I mean, we would love to be in their position. Didn't get us wrong, but in terms of Man United standards, let's take a look at Manchester United's last 6 fixtures, which everyone can now see on the screen. We'll start off with obviously Arsenal 0-0 away from home. And then that thumping of Southampton 9-0, of course, then Southampton played us and couldn't beat us with 9 men. That's obviously stands out because of the huge win. And then a few draws, which Everton and obviously West Ham after extra time. Disappointing draw away to West Brom, and then a fantastic 4-0 away win in the Europa League. What do you make of their recent form, Holly?
The recent form has, on the most part, been decent. Like, obviously, the standout results of obviously in the Europa League against Sociedad and the 9-0 against Southampton. There's one or two results that you could question, like the draw with West Brom, but overall, I think it's good recent form.
Johnny, we've got an awful record at Old Trafford. I know you were there when Kabay scored, and obviously he's just retired, so many congratulations to his retirement. I don't want to say it because we'll get predictions later, but it's one of those places where there is a few grounds across the Premier League where we proper struggle, and this is just no different to like you liked of St Mary's, Goodison. We haven't won for a while. Old Trafford's another one. Manchester City away. It's just one of them grounds where we don't expect to get. Now, do we go into this? Obviously, we'll talk about Newcastle shortly. We're going to this with no pressure, or have we got to be careful what Fulham do tonight?
It just depends on this Fulham result. It really does. I thought you were going to reel off the other 19 grounds in the Premier League.
I was trying to think at the top of your head.
But no, Old Trafford hasn't been great for us over the years. Obviously, there's been the odd couple of draws that we've had, and obviously that win in 2013. But on the whole, no, it's not really been great for Newcastle. But there is a bit of pressure, regardless if Fulham win, draw or lose today, because that gap is closed a little bit to 6 points, and people are saying, well, Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle aren't really going to get anything. Fulham got on paper nicer games. The likelihood is that gap was going to get reduced a little bit. I think the problem was because Fulham beat Everton. No one really expected them to beat Everton at Goodison. I think at best you would have thought for Fulham it was a draw. So there is pressure on Newcastle, but we did beat Everton at Goodison a couple of weeks ago. That's not like it's that's not one of our nice grounds. So it can be done, but we've got to have a really good day, and Man United have got to have a really bad day.
We didn't win at Goodison for a while before winning that, so let's be positive. We can, Ollie's just in the comments just said there we've scored early in the last 3 visits there, so if we can score early and hold on, hey, we've got to be positive. I want to highlight some of the stats because that's the reason why I mentioned the record at Old Trafford. Man United have won 4 of the past 5 Premier League games against Newcastle, including 4-1 victories in the last 2 meetings. Obviously, at St James's Park, Carl Dollo, remembering him saving the penalty, and then Man United going on a bit of a spree towards the end, counter-attacking, scoring a few goals at the end. Newcastle's obviously solitary win in the last 37 attempts in all competitions at Old Trafford was that game we've just touched upon. The Magpies have lost 10 Premier League fixtures versus United after scoring the opening goal. That's a bit alarming, Holly, isn't it?
Definitely. I hope that we can score first, because if they score first, I think that we could go on to get a bit of a hiding. So I'm just praying that we'll get a nice early goal well in the first 15 minutes. Fingers crossed. And
Newcastle have lost 7 of the last 9. I can't even speak now. 9 Premier League games. No surprise there. And obviously, we've lost all 3 games without scoring, which is a real concern without Callum Wilson. The only positive with Callum Wilson is that we've got that international break at the end of March, and then we hope to have him back for the running. And the striker has scored 10 and assisted 5 of Newcastle's 25 league goals. He's a huge part. And the Magpies have sustained 9 defeats in 11 away matches and failed to score in 8 of those fixtures. And Steve Bruce has just taken 1 point from 11 Premier League visits to Old Trafford when he got a 2-2 draw when he was manager of Sunderland in October 2009. Oh, it doesn't look great, does it, Johnny? All them stats.
No, it doesn't. The thing is, the only thing I would say to all these stats is that Man United have just played 3 days ago away from home, which obviously was in Europe. So it's going to take a little bit out of them playing away, different country, different climate, and then obviously travelling back and probably not getting back until maybe the early hours in Manchester. So that's Friday morning. So they've only really had just under 2 days to prepare for this game. So that could possibly work for Newcastle, but we had 9 days off in between games between Southampton and Chelsea, and that didn't do us any favours, especially in the first half. And I'm sure that we'll touch on about what was said at half time, or what was apparently said at half time. But we've just got to try and stay in the game as long as possible. Do the exact opposite that we did in the first half against Chelsea. make it really difficult for Man United. Try and not let Bruno Fernandes dictate this game. He's probably their biggest threat, and try and be a bit more defensively solid, because we weren't against Chelsea, and that was really disappointing to see.
Yeah, totally agree. We're just reading some of your comments. Thomas asked, who would you put up top? I'm sure Jonny will touch upon that, because Johnny's going to take over and talk about Newcastle shortly. If we're going to take the lead and hang on for the win, need to be in the second half. We won't hang on to first half lead, says Ollie as well. And Darcy's just said there, you find quite a lot of the time when teams play in Europe to struggle on that weekend. So let's hope, but Johnny's just made a great point that we'll be a lot more fresher. Will that be a factor, do you feel, Holly?
Maybe it could help us a little bit. I think we do need to just hang on to anything that could potentially help us out, because if it doesn't go our way and just everything works out for Man United, I think it will be a high-scoring game for them. I would play defensive. I don't think we should go too attacking, because if we do try and attack too much and leave ourselves exposed at the back, there's a high chance that they'll just nip in and score the goals, because obviously they can put their chances away a lot more easily than we can. I think we just need to try and keep it like 0-0 for as long as possible, and then or score early on and hold on to the lead, or keep it 0-0 as long as possible and get a late minute winner, because we can't go out trying to score multiple goals, because it just won't work.
Man United have loads of talent. There is a bit of talk that Solskjaer might switch the goalkeepers around, Jonny. And obviously we talk about Dubravka and Darlow quite a bit. Some people want Dubravka back, and it's would you say it's quite similar to Man United that Henderson's the better goalkeeper?
I think Henderson's been tipped to be the better goalkeeper, and I think from what you've seen recently, obviously he's only played cup games and Europa League games. I think he's had a couple of Premier League appearances when De Gea hasn't been involved, and he's looked pretty comfortable. De Gea, there's no doubt this season he's been quite shaky. The defence for Man United has been quite shaky, let's be brutally honest. Obviously, I would still say Henderson and De Gea are better than Dubravka and Darlow, unfortunately, but it's a nice conundrum to have for both clubs, that they've got both clubs have both got two very, very good goalkeepers. If I was a Manchester United fan, I'd probably want Dean Henderson to come in now, because let's be honest, I don't think they're going to. If they're in a title race, they're just about in a title race. So I think it'd be worth actually giving him Premier League games as well, and the Europa League games, and maybe give De Gea whatever is the FA Cup games, because I think Henderson is the future for Manchester United. And normally, if you're Manchester United's number one, you're going to be England's number one very soon. So I would prefer David De Gea to be in goal, because I think he's more suspect and I think he's got more of an error in him. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'll be surprised if De Gea doesn't start. I think he will persist with De Gea until the end of the season, Solskjaer. But I think Henderson will be the number one at the start of next season.
Yeah, I would be more happy I haven't seen De Gea in, because you're right, Ronnie's kind of mistaken him. Holly, where are their weaknesses? Because for me, I think it's Lindelof. And if he plays, people are saying in the comments, Andy Cowell's a shout. I think Maguire might try and pick up Cowell mind. I think Maguire might fancy that a bit more. But whoever plays up top, Lindelof seems to be playing a lot more games. Obviously, Phil Jones is out. I don't think Eric Bailly is going to make it. Surely their defence is their weakness.
Definitely. Up top and in midfield, they're decent, but their defence is something that we'll have to target, because that is where the weakest, and where we could have a chance at just hitting them and exposing their weaknesses and trying to get a goal, because for me, they're definitely not good enough at the back. So hopefully we can just prey on that and get one past their defence, because like you say, they're just not up to scratch.
Paul Pogba, he's not a real player. Paul Pogba, easy for me to say, is ruled out, so is Phil Jones. I think there was some doubt about Donny van der Beek, and I think it was Scott McTominay and Edison Cavani. Cavani, for me, John, is their best striker, out and out striker by a mile.
I think when you just look at just what he brings to that Manchester United team, is just something that they haven't had for a little while. Rashford, I don't think, is an out-and-out number 9. I think he's probably better on that left-hand side. And then you've got, obviously, Martial, who again, I think he's probably slightly better on the right-hand side, and that's what you've seen over the last few months, is if they can get Cavani on the pitch, if he is fit, they'll put him in the middle. It's just obviously his age.
I wish he would smile, though.
Yeah, I think he's been a brilliant signing for Manchester United. I really do. Unfortunately, I'm not a massive fan of Man United, but
sounds like you are.
Well, we'll leave that one for another day. But no, Cavani's world class on his day. He really is. You've seen what he's done at certain other clubs as well. So yeah, he's going to be a real threat, and we need to be on our toes with him.
Do you think your brother will be on the bench, Mason?
He's a great player. I think he's got a chance of starting. I really do. I think he'll start. Mainly because I think there is doubt over Cavani. So maybe they'll say, well, why don't we just put him on the bench? We've got Mason Greenwood. We can put somebody else through the centre. Maybe they'd have to sacrifice Martial and put him in the centre and put Greenwood on the right. But look, they've got good options, Man United, and they're going to be a threat going forward. But yeah, whoever Man United put on the pitch going forward, Newcastle are going to have to deal with it a lot better than they did against Chelsea on Monday night.
Ollie, before Johnny takes over with the tune, Fred and McTominay might start. How do you feel about them? Because obviously Fred, I don't think he's at the level. I think he has improved as a Man United player. McTominay's having a much better season than he did last season. So they are up a level, but that midfield, is that somewhere we could potentially look at and think there's another weakness out of those two?
I don't think that they're particularly bad, but I don't think they're good either. I think if they are having a bit of an off day, we could definitely target them. But I don't think we should be threatened by those two whatsoever. I think we've got enough to definitely come out on top.
The reason why I mention that, because we always talk about central midfield has been a real big problem this season. Too many underperformances from Sean. Matty's in and out the side more than often than in. John Joe doesn't look like the player he was. Isaac Hayden doesn't even play there anymore because he's had to fill it at the back. So we're a little bit all over. So yeah, we're going to talk about the two next. Did you know we've got some YouTube gaming? We have YouTube accessories, gaming accessories on our Amazon store. Have a look at this. We'll be back in about 40 seconds.
Hello and welcome back. Lee's obviously been talking about Manchester United, but we're all here to talk about Newcastle. That's why they've given myself the presenting role for Newcastle so Lee can get all his opinions along with Holly on how we should beat Manchester United. It is still 0-0 between Fulham and Sheffield United, but it's a tough watch to say the least. I'm glad I'm presenting for the next half an hour or so. Right, let's talk about Newcastle. Have we got the last 6 results for Newcastle, Lee, on screen?
We do indeed. You might have seen this on the socials. Here you go. Yeah,
so Holly, 4 defeats, 2 wins, but those 2 wins were crucial when we look at it now because those 2 wins are keeping us out of the bottom 3. When you look at it, that Southampton result is just huge.
It is. If we hadn't won that game, we would have been in a very bad position at the minute. I don't think that we will get anything out of the Man United game, but I hope that we do, and certainly after that we need to continue to pick up points because we are still in a dangerous position, but I dread to think where we would have been if we hadn't won against Southampton.
100%, and Lee, obviously Chelsea was the last game away from home. It's going to be similar in terms of the size of club, in terms of the type of team that we're playing, that someone that's fighting for top 4 and trying to make sure they get Champions League football next season. Does Steve Bruce change it slightly in terms of personnel or in terms of formation? Maybe formation's probably the question. Do Newcastle go 5 at the back and try and get Manchester United on the counter? What do you think about that?
I think the Chelsea game first half was appalling. It was back to where we were early on the season before Graham Jones come in. Much improved Everton and Southampton. The Southampton one, I said it before, I felt proud to be a fan after that. Because that's the standout performance for me. along with Everton this season. But in terms of Man United, I think Man United are slightly better than Chelsea currently. I know Tuchel might get his way in and work on them and improve them, but at the moment, I think Man United are a little bit higher, especially going forward. They've got a lot of talent. What I would like to say, I'm not expecting the two to get now from it, but if we show a bit of determination, similar towards Everton, not so much high press, because look, Everton turned over Liverpool tonight, and if we show not high press, but a little bit more going forward, we know that Wilson is out. The goals have got to come from somewhere, and I also feel that saint-maximin, despite he's being absolutely fantastic, needs to get his head up and actually look where his teammates are occasionally.
Holly, Lee mentions that Chelsea game. It was reported in the Chronicle by Lee Ryder at half-time that Jamal Lascelles more or less was asking a lot more of the players because it was really, really poor. It reminded me of the Southampton game a few seasons ago where Jamal Lascelles basically said, "What he's doing, we're going to get relegated. Do you care?" basically, and it was almost a similar sense in terms of that Chelsea first half performance. Do you feel that was just a reality check that Newcastle actually needed because it wasn't great?
Definitely. I think that's what we've been wanting Jamal Lascelles to do for a long time. I've criticised him all throughout this season as a captain because I don't think he has been up to scratch. Like, he just hasn't been doing his job well enough. And I've criticised him as a centre-back as well because I think he's been underperforming in that role. We do need him to step up now because it's like the players are completely blind to what's happening. They can't see what's happening right in front of them. It's like all the fans are shouting, you need to start sorting it out, otherwise we are going to end up in that bottom three, and then we can easily it's so hard once you're in that bottom three to get back out. So I think they need to wake up and realise how much danger we're in to keep us up, otherwise we'll have no hope.
100%. Lee, just to kind of just throw a spanner into that kind of conversation that Jamal Lascelles had with the players, is it a refreshing thing to see a captain do that, or should that be the job of the manager?
Well, you would hope Bruce will be doing that, but Bruce is that character where he puts the arm around your shoulder. He's not. Doesn't seem to be the type that'll blast players. And when he came out in that press conference about 6 weeks ago, saying we're going to do it my way, should have been his way in the first place. He's the head coach. I've just got to point out what's Henri Savé still doing at the club, man. He's on that picture there, man. Now, what's he still doing, hanging about in the first team, man? Absolute joke. But in terms of Jamal Lascelles, some people might say the cheek of him to say that because he hasn't been the player that he's been when he first come up with Rafa. Totally agree with Holly. I think he's average. We're best defenders due back next game, which is Fernandes. For me, him and Clark.
Hype Lascelles, Lee.
Lascelles isn't this player. The problem is with Jamal Lascelles, he looks like he's a fantastic leader, but should a leader guarantee you a start? No. Matt Ritchie looks like he's a fantastic leader. He's not playing any games at the minute. Martin Dubravka wants to come into the side. He's a shouter. He's a leader. There is reports he doesn't want to come out. He wants to play and he's upset. But more leaders, the better for me. But in terms of that, you've got to have ability over leadership for me. I don't know how any you guys feel, but it's ability first, leadership second. For me, Jamal Lascelles wouldn't play if every centre-back was fit.
It's a fair assessment, Holly, because Lascelles, he's had his moments. I feel like he's had his moments for the last 2 years. I don't think he's been consistently great or consistently bad. I just think he's had a few moments in games where you've gone, that's the Jamal Lascelles of old. But I think Lee's right. Is there a debate now? If all our centre-halves are fit, and I'll include Florian Lejeune in this as well because I know he's obviously on loan, do you think that Lascelles would be in that two central defenders at the start of the season, next season, if all our defenders are fit?
Not for me. He certainly shouldn't be because the two best central defenders that we have should be the ones playing, and he's not one of them for me. He's massively regressed. Under Rafa Benitez, he looked decent. He looked like a good, well-rounded player, but the past 2 seasons under Bruce, he's just hasn't looked anything how he used to be. And I don't think he deserves to stay in this side. I think he should be out of the side and someone else should come in. And when people come back, I do think that someone else should take over for him because he's just not up to scratch.
Holly, who would you put as the two centre-halves? And you can include Lejeune if you want to. But say Newcastle are in the Premier League, will survive next season. Who would you have as those two centre-halves?
If Shaw was playing as well as he has lately, then I would probably say Shaw and Clark.
Lee, do you agree?
Nah, put Fernandes in. Fernandes is a natural leader anyways, so for me, if it was now the start of the season, they're both fit, it would be Fernandes, Clark, then Lejeune would be third choice for me, behind Clark and Fernandes. I think there's a reason why Florian Lejeune went out on loan. Simple fact that Bruce doesn't fancy him. Whatever you think of Steve Bruce, he's an idiot. What have you? Too injury prone, great ability, but how many times is he going to play for you? Ironically, the first time he's fit all season, he is out on loan. That's just how I look, isn't it? But for me, for Gree right now, it's Fernandes and Clark. Come on, Johnny, tell us yours.
I would slightly disagree. I'd go Fernandes and Lejeune. It's just, can you keep them both fit? More particularly Florian Lejeune. Can you keep him fit? Because if you can keep him fit, he's a fantastic centre-half. Kieran Clark deserves an honourable mention. My reason why Fabian Schär wouldn't be, because I'm never comfortable with Fabian Schär as a 2. If it's a 3, I'd have him in, because he's a little bit different and he offers something different in terms of centre-half, but I'd probably go with Fernandes and Lejeune. But get your comments and we'll get a few of them out. It's just Lejeune's injuries, and obviously Adrian's just said they've had 2 ACL injuries. You know, that's a massive thing, unfortunately, for any player to recover. You look at that, Van Dijk's out with that at the minute as well. Will he return as the same player for Liverpool? That'll be interesting to watch. So moving on to the actual team itself. Obviously, Lee's mentioned Holly. Dubravka says he's not happy, wants to be playing, which is completely understandable. He's used to being playing. He's done nothing wrong. He got injured, and obviously Carl Darlow's just done exceptional. So, is there an argument for Dubravka to start, Holly, or do you think because Darlow hasn't really put a lot wrong, he hasn't really done a lot wrong, that he should be dropped?
I would drop him. I think Dubravka is definitely our best keeper by a long mile. I think Darlow's done really well this season, and it was really good to see how well he stepped up when he was needed. But for me, I would have brought Dubravka back in a while ago now. And I think we'll lose one of them at the end of the season, because I can't see them both staying, because they both deserve first-team football. And if they go to another club, they'll get that. And I would rather lose Darlow than Dubravka. And I feel like Dubravka will want to leave if we continue playing Darlow. And if we lost Dubravka because of Steve Bruce, I could never forgive him for that, because he's one of the best players we've had in a long time. And he's one of the few that I would build the team around.
Yeah, it's fascinating because Dubravka in particular is on a long contract.
So is Darlow, because he's just signed a new deal, hasn't he? They both have. And Freddie Woodman has signed as well. Freddie Woodman's
only got a year left, though, hasn't he?
No, he signed a new deal for a year to go back out. Yeah. So Freddie Woodman will not want to be third choice again. Darlow, there is small mistakes creeping into his game of late. You think about the goal at Aston Villa. What was the one that went through his arms? That was a recent game. I'm trying to think what that was. There is small errors, not massive amounts, that we're not pointing the finger saying, oh, he cost us £3 a day, nothing like that. But there is slow signs at Darlow's. Maybe it's a bit of pressure, because he has been performing miracles. He cannot do it for 50 games a season, cup and league. So I wouldn't change it just yet. I don't think it's a huge weakness for Newcastle. I think there's other areas of the pitch where I'd rather see players in. That's the strength for me, those two goalkeepers.
Holly, do Newcastle go 4 or 5 at the back tomorrow? Do they make it very, very difficult for Manchester United? Do they really make it tough to be broken down in terms of having a lot of the ball, but just see if they can get that killer pass? Or do Newcastle continue with that 4 at the back that they have had in the last few games?
I'd stick with 4. I'd play 4-2-3-1. I don't want us to go back to 5 at the back, like, ever if possible, because I just hate the way we play. And realistically, although it'd be nice to get something, I don't think any of us are expecting us to actually win or get a point. It would be nice, but it's not that realistic. So I'd rather just enjoy the football and we'll play a bit better than 5 at the back and it'd just be boring to watch for 90 minutes.
I think that's the question, Lee, is the entertainment value or the actual the man management value or the game management value, I should say. Because game management wise, you can look at that 5 at the back and look, let's make it really, really difficult for Man United to get past us and, you know, effectively put 10 men behind the ball. And if we get a chance to go on the counter, you know, we can do. We'll try our best. But where do you stand on it? Do you think Newcastle should go 4 or 5?
4. I think it's a free hit. I think if you're gonna park the bus again, similar to Chelsea, I was annoyed first half. Why are you going all the way there? Why are you travelling all the way there? You at least show a bit of spirit. And Man United have got problems in defence. I don't look Shaw. I think, or Tellers. I think there's an area. I think Wan-Bissaka 1-on-1. You can't beat him. I think he's great at actual defending. I think Maguire, for me, was Maguire actually top notch? Is he worth 80 million? He's not even worth half of it. And then Lindelof is just calamity. Lindelof's their boom song. He's got a mistake in left, right, and centre. So for me, go after him. If you get beat 3 or 4 and out, fair enough. Some people might say, "Oh, you go up into the end of the season, blah blah blah." But if we're going there, park the bus. I'll only accept parking the bus if we get an early goal in the game, and then we have to hang on it. I'll accept that, but I'm not accepting parking the bus for 90 minutes. Nah, not for me.
Holly, is going 5 at the back the best way of Newcastle actually getting something from this game?
Potentially, but I don't think it's worth it because regardless of if we played 4 or 5, I wouldn't be confident that we could get something. And I'd rather, like Lee said, us just play well. And if we do get beat 3 or 4 goals, then so be it. At least we haven't just been bored to death for 90 minutes. Like the 5 at the back is not the way forward for me.
I think midfield's a big conundrum. I really do, because Jonjo Shelvey probably doesn't deserve to start at the minute. He really doesn't. Isaac Hayden didn't have his best game against Chelsea. There's no real mention of the Longstaffs getting back in at the minute. If we're deciding, or I'll let you two decide if we're going 4 at the back. If it is 2 centre midfielders, does Jeff Hendrick, Lee, deserve to come back in? I know that sounds stupid, but do you think
I don't think he deserves it, but I could see that happening. I could even see him playing on the right if he's going to go defensive. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Hendrick will be picked ahead of the Longstaffs, 100%.
Yeah.
It's all of a case of Hayden will play, and then who plays alongside him? Is it Jeff Hendrick? Is it Shelvey? Is it all 3 of them? Does he play with that 3 and drop Willock to the bench? Maybe not. I think Willock will play, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Hendrick shifted over to the right-hand side just as cover. But then again, Miguel Miron's great at defending. He runs a lot, as we always say on this channel. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. No.
Would you start Jeff Hendrick tomorrow? I was going to say Holly, rather.
Ollie!
No, I wouldn't have Jeff Hendrick anywhere near the team. He's the worst player we've got for me. Like, no, I don't want to see him.
Is he worse than Joe Linton? Second worst, then. Second worst.
Yeah. It's a bit unfair because obviously Joe Linton costs a lot more money, which influences it. Because 40 million for him is just a bit shocking. But yeah, I wouldn't have Jeff Hendrick anywhere near the starting lineup. But I think Bruce will probably pick him because he seems to like Jeff Hendrick for some bizarre reason.
It's his son. Don't worry, Johnny. You're still with her. You're still with us.
Was it me that went? I was like, oh no. Yeah. Look, it's a free signing, isn't it, for Jeff Hendrick? So again, we can't really lose in terms of value. But £40 million for Joe Linton, there's a little bit of value there. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. But would you rather have Hendrick or Shelvey starting at the minute, Lee? Because that's the question I ask. Because I don't think Shelvey's doing enough.
It's always an if with Jonjo, isn't it? If he gets on the ball, if he can spray, if that's the problem. Jeff Hendrick, you know what he gets. He has a bit of grit. He runs a run. That's it. Puts his foot in. Shelvey doesn't put his foot in. Shelvey doesn't run around. So there is a case for an argument in that. But I think for going forward, I just think you have to play him because you've got to risk that if that makes sense, where you might ping a ball to Dwight Gale on the diagonal or what have you. No other player's going to do that, and that might get with 60 yards up the pitch. So for me, he plays because of that reason.
So Shelvey and Hayden and Willock are guarantees for both of you?
I wouldn't say guarantees, depending on what formation is, because Hayden might be a centre back.
But obviously, if we're just obviously deciding, it's going to be 4 at the
I'll
back.
go with all 3. They're my 3.
Would you agree, Holly?
That's what I think he'll play, but I'd rather have Matty in over Shelby.
So we agree that Almiron and Saint-Maximin are definitely going to start. It's that striker position now. I campaigned with my big Dwight Gale flag last week, saying that he should start against Chelsea.
Where was that? Like, Johnny, was that in North Shield somewhere on your own with your flag?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I had Sam all the way in Birmingham, Telford area with his Andy Carroll flag. There wasn't any Joe Linton flags anywhere, unfortunately. But look, there's an argument for both of them, whether who should start first, if it's Gale or Carroll. Holly, if you had the choice, who would you want to start? Would you go with Gale, who's a bit more quicker, or Carroll, who's a bit more in terms of he likes to fight, doesn't he? He's a bit more aggressive. He likes to win headers. Can he do that sort of job for Newcastle? Who would you want to start?
Andy Carroll. Last week I said that I would pick Dwight Gale. I thought it would be an easy choice for me, but he was so poor, and I think that Andy Carroll would be just more up for it, so I would give him a go.
Lee, what about you?
Tough one, isn't it? Because if it's Lindelof, you want Andy Carroll against Lindelof, but I think Maguire will follow him. I think Maguire will just follow Andy Carroll. I think Carroll will still win that battle, mind you, but be more Maguire up his street. But yes, I agree with Holly said about Dwight Gale, but he was pushed over at the right-hand side bizarrely, and Almiron was for the middle. For me, if Gale doesn't start again, see, I would probably go. I would go Gale personally, and then I would give Andy Carroll at least 25 minutes, half an hour, whether it's 2 up top or whether it's like for like, because I would like to see Carroll against their defenders.
You've got to remember, Dwight Gale seems to play the annual Newcastle versus Man United game at Old Trafford. He scored a couple of years ago when Rafa was in charge. And then last year, he should have put Newcastle 1-0 up before Matty Longstaff did. He was put through and just skied over the crossbar. So he seems to start that particular game. I would give Gale one more chance. I'd give Gale one more chance to see what he can do and see if he can improve, because arguably our biggest game of the season is going to be West Brom. West Brom will be a big game, but Wolves next Saturday in the evening, because that is a winnable game at home. Wolves aren't as terrifying as what they used to be. So I would still start Gale, but I completely understand the Andy Carroll argument against Lindelof and Maguire. They're not great. But I think on the counter-attack, when you've got Almiron and Saint-Maximin, I feel like Carroll slows us down. He always likes taking a couple more touches and try to play it in the midfield. Yes, he does keep possession, but I just don't think it's what we need in this game. But get your comments in, Gale or Carroll.
If you start Carroll, start Matt Ritchie. Simple.
Yeah.
Because Matt Ritchie doesn't like to beat a man and fanning around like Alan Saint-Maximin does. Don't get me wrong, Saint-Maximin is a match winner on his day, but Ritchie likes to cross from deep. So if you're going to start Carroll, it makes sense to start Matt Ritchie.
So it looks like Andy Carroll's going to be on the bench. Dwight Gale's just got the nod, mainly because me and Lee have agreed. So I do apologise, Holly. But look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that team. I think the team selection, Holly, will decide what Newcastle are going to do. Because if it is 5 at the back, Bruce is going to say, right, I'll take a 0-0 win. Essentially, it's a point, and it's a point more than what most people think. But is there anybody else that can really vouch for a start? There's the argument of Ryan Fraser. I've seen in the comments. Lee's mentioned Matt Ritchie. Is there anybody really knocking on that door to get into the starting 11?
I don't think anyone's particularly impressing me at the minute. I thought when Paul Dummer came on as a sub, he was okay, so he could be worth a shout, but then we'll probably have better defenders fit, so he probably wouldn't get a chance.
John just said there, what about Matty? He scores against Man United, injected him in vein.
That seems like such a long time ago when he scored at St. James. I know he scored at Old Trafford as well, but it just seems like such a long time. But it'd be fantastic if he could get on the score sheet once again. Because I think Man United must know everything about Matty Longstaff when it turns to his goals against Man United.
Scouting the wrong Longstaff, weren't they?
Oh, 100% at the time, weren't they? But we'll see what happens. I've just seen one comment, actually. I'm going to get Lee, I'm going to get your opinion on Jacob Murphy, because that right-back area is a real issue. Emil Kraft was poor, to put it blunt, on Monday night. So obviously,
but Johnny, don't you know he got a 6 in the average ratings this year?
I'm sure his average went down after Monday night. Yeah, what do you think, Lee? Because Emil Kraft just doesn't fill me with any confidence. You've got the argument you put Murphy in there, but Murphy's not a right back by trade, especially in a 4. It's a real gamble. We've seen what happened against Leeds, and then you've got potentially maybe getting Isaac Hayden as a right back, which is not what we really want to do, is it?
I'm not against Murphy playing right wing back. I think he's the best crosser.
But right back in a 4, that's the issue.
No, it's too offensive. Again, if you need a result and you need to win a game, like Fulham are breathing down with next, let's just say Fulham win the night, and we've got to go Wolves and get some. I sound like Kevin Keegan, and we've got to get something. I would probably go a little bit more attacking. I think Wolves side are a little bit hit and miss this season. They're nowhere near is what they were last season. So, but Mankio's injury isn't as bad. Thankfully, Steve Bruce said in his press conference that's only. I say that like it's a good thing, but I'd rather have Mankio ahead of Kraft, put it that way. I mean, Emil Kraft's anagram should be "I am crap." That's what he should be listed at, because he's another one that needs binned and put out the door this summer as well.
Holly, can you just tell Sam that he's wrong?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Kraft whatsoever.
You know what he reminds me of is Shaggy off Scooby-Doo, the way he runs. It's like this, isn't it? Where you run.
What are you talking about, Sam there? I was like, where are you going with this?
No, Sam's like Peter Crouch. He's 6'5".
I don't know where you're going with that. I'll get you now.
Have a look. Next time if he plays, the way he runs, it's just he looks like he's running after a Scooby snack or something.
Yeah, of course. Before I end with the predictions, I want to talk about a couple of things that we've seen on social media. The first one, Rafa Benitez. It was mentioned by I think he's called Duncan Castles, who's a reporter for the Times, who said in a podcast that Mike Ashley has spoken to Rafa Benitez, I don't know if it's his representative or Rafa himself, about potentially taking over at Newcastle to basically keep them up and protect his investment. A lot of people are saying, well, he's trying to protect his investment for getting a takeover, Holly. Do you believe what people are saying? Do you think that Duncan Castles has found out that Rafa has been spoken to by Mike Ashley, or do you think it's just very much hearsay?
I'm pretty sure those rumours got dismissed, didn't they?
By the Chronicle.
It was speculation, wasn't it? It was never concrete. But do you think it's a case of probably that 2 and 2 and putting 25, basically?
I'd like to think that it was true, but it's probably not. Like, I can't see Rafa Benitez ever working for Mike Ashley again, so unfortunately not, but I wish it was true.
Where do you stand on it, Lee? Because it seemed that it was, obviously I've listened to the podcast, and it was very much that Rafa would be interested in coming back because he feels like he has unfinished business. He wants to see Newcastle improve, but it's working with Mike Ashley. That's the issue. He's a bit undecided. Where does that leave Steve Bruce in all this? Because it has been mentioned in the last 24 hours. I know it might have been dismissed, but it's still unnecessary speculation for the manager, really.
Steve Bruce will hate it. He'll hate it. I bet he snaps next weekend. I bet he does. Look, I got a lot of people talking on social media. I was like Scrooge. I just put it down straight away and got it's not happening. Sorry, Holly. I know Holly was tweeting last night. Like, please come back, Rafa. Please come. I seen Holly's tweeting last night. I thought, please come, make it happen. Make it with quoting tweets and everything. I thought, no, it's not happening. It's not. Unfortunately, Benitez will not come back under Mike Ashley. I know there's a few people saying if the takeover is definitely happening, it's going through and Ashley's going out the door. Not for me. It's not happening. Unfortunately, I think what will be interesting though is if the open contract negotiations with Bruce over the summer, because if they do, then he stays, doesn't he? And if they don't, I think the speculation will just go rife about Bruce going out the door.
It's actually half time at Craven Cottage. It is 0-0 for people that are watching live. So at the minute, it's not bad, but of course, there's still another 45 minutes to go. Hopefully,
Come on, Sheffield United.
Yeah, I'll take 0-0, mine. But if Sheffield United could win, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's speculation that nobody inside the club really wants. I think obviously outside the club, you know, because we're not at games, physically at games, Lee, you know, it's something to grasp, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I also seen a couple of people, and it's quite sad that they've said it, that this news give them a little bit of hope. But unfortunately, it's false hope, which you didn't want to give your fan base, because the speculation, what it does is people who are gullible will jump on and think, oh, Rafa's coming back, and just be careful, because it's spinning and it's people trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to spin the truth, where I just don't feel there's nothing in it. Unfortunately, with Benitez, he's not coming back. I mean, I showed the girlfriend out the day Rafa Benitez walks out the door, and obviously the Mackham's got a hold of it and went viral. I was on my dinner break and I walked across the Jackie Milburn statue. I don't know if you remember this, Johnny. And I was like, my phone's broke, my car broke down, and Rafa Benitez has left us. I was like, letting cry my eyes in a proper hurt. But I just cannot see it. Is the unfinished business? Yes, I do think that. But it's the timing. And Rafa Benitez will say that himself. It's all about timing, and love a fairy tale, but unfortunately it's not happening.
Holly, another bit of information that we've seen on social media is Mike Ashley has been he's been having a meeting basically with an Arabian gentleman about opening up a sports clothes shop in that sort of area. Everyone's again is putting 2 and 2 together and saying that was just part of the reason why the takeover is going to happen. And look, a few people have said that there is going to be some sort of update in regards to that in the coming weeks. I'll put Mark. I think Mark Douglas put something along those lines that there should be some news about it soon. Do we have to be careful as a fan base, Holly, because obviously of how close this takeover was in the summer? Have we got to be really careful that, because look, it was ridiculous in the end, really, 17 weeks and we got nowhere further, and obviously the Saudis aren't back at the table yet.
We have got to be careful. Like, it's easy to get carried away. Like, I'm the first person to get carried away, and I'll admit that. But in the back of your mind, you've always got that negativity, because you don't want to, like, obviously just think, oh yeah, it's happening, because it's unlikely that it will. I think people read too much into stuff like that sports shop and other things that are happening. I think it's just coincidence, and I hope that it's linked like everyone else, but it's probably not. And I think until we hear something officially, we're best to just kind of leave it alone and hope that things happen in the background.
Yeah, Lee, did you see the big Sports Direct mug in the background?
What does it? Did I see one? Or have I got one? Did you say? I definitely got an Sports.
Both.
I'll just do it the way. I've definitely got an Sports Direct merch in. Yeah. With that, yeah, it looked like he's lost a bit of weight. People were saying as well about Ashley as well. Look, if it is a case, it's a strange one. Sports Direct in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're both as corrupt as each other. I'll say that quite effectively they are, aren't they? Let's face it. But Mike Ashley gets up to behind the scenes and the rumours and the stories, I must say, alleged. And it's no different. Yes. I'll cover me back. And then with the Saudis, allegedly as well, they've got up to some naughty stuff. So that wouldn't surprise me. But I just find it weird. Sports Direct going, you're walking past and like, I don't know, a street or something, or a piece of, you've got a camel and you've got a Sports Direct across the road. Just nah. I don't know what. It's probably some business. I don't know. I didn't nab at that one. But with Benitez isn't happening.
Yeah, I'll get your comments in. What do you think? Do you think it's a nonsense story in terms of everything that's going on?
What they're going to sell? Camels and camel and water for the camels? I mean, what they're going to sell in this shop?
Slazenger socks.
Is that what they wear out there? Or the headgear that they wear out there?
I don't know.
We'll have Sports Direct written on the front. You'll be seeing them all.
I suppose, like I say, if he's there, obviously he would have had really intensive talks last year about this takeover being done. We obviously spoke to Pete Graves, and he had that information about the takeover a long time before it was released. I think he had it 4 or 5 months before it was even released. He knew there was something going on. So these talks might have been going on for a long, long time. And that might have been part of the discussions, can I get some of my shops? Because Sports Direct is this baby in those sort of areas.
It's a good shout by Ginger. That picture could have been taken weeks ago.
Exactly. Actually, that's a good shout. We don't know if it's photoshopped or not, but again, we have to just take it on their value. But well, let's just say you keep an eye on it. You keep an eye on it because I think it's, if something gets announced, obviously it'd be brilliant, but I'm not really kind of hoping too much just yet. I think obviously with what happened last year, I think we all got stung massively because it didn't go through, and I think we all in the end we can get a McDonald's and a Saudi. That's all right for us, then, isn't it? Right, let's get predictions before going over to NFTV Extra for the Greenwood Mulliner Show. Holly, starting with you. What's going to happen tomorrow night?
3-0 Man United at best.
That's terrible. That's awful. You were so optimistic last week, Lee. You said 1-1 against Chelsea, and now it's got a 3-0. Come on, give us a bit of optimism, Lee. What we're going with?
I think she was being optimistic when she said 3-0. I think we're going to do it again. I think we've got bigger games coming up the next 4 or 5 fixtures. I think we'll get beat 2-0 again, unfortunately.
Would you take 2-0?
I wouldn't take 2-0. I want to go there. And I think the thing is, we're going to need to see progress with how we will play. Because if we play positively, the law of averages will state that you win more games, won't you? And the teams around us, we've got a lot of games coming up in the next 4 or 5 before we play Spurs after the international break. There's a lot of teams floating around mid-table and down there with us. If we play like we go and not attack, but show a bit of positivity, I'd be more confident going into these games like getting a nick a point here at Wolves and winning at West Brom and stuff like that. But that's what I want to see from this game. A bit of positivity going forward, not park the bus crap. But 2-0.
2-0 Man United. Look, the next 4 games after Man United is Wolves at home, West Brom away, Aston Villa at home, and Brighton away before the international break.
That's points we
4 winnable games, or 4 games.
I said this last week that if we win 3 of those 4 games, that's us staying up regardless of what Fulham do. Regardless, that's enough.
Love the optimism. But yeah, obviously Holly's gone for 3-0 Man United. Lee's gone for 2-0. I do tend to agree that it is going to be a Man United win, unfortunately. I'll go 3-1 Man United, unfortunately. I'd like to think I'll get a
bet on Fernandes scoring.
Yes, Man United's penalties. Obviously, Darlow saved Bruno Fernandes' penalty earlier on in the season, but I do think that could be potentially worrying their record at Old Trafford with penalties. But yeah, that is the end of the preview. My thanks to Holly and my thanks to Lee. Thanks to everybody getting involved in the comments. And remember, NFTV Extra in the next couple of minutes. Myself and Sam, Greenwood Mulliner Show with Bryn Law from Sky Sports in the last 20 years, and obviously with his relationship with the late, great Gary Speed. So one not to be missed for sure. But we'll see you all tomorrow when it's Man United v Newcastle. We've got everything. We've got the watch along. We've got instant reaction. Fantastic. We've got the watch along. We've got the instant reaction, scoring the players, and me and Lee tomorrow night on the last words. So you get to see us for the last bit of your week. How lucky you. On the night shift, basically, yeah. My thanks to Lee and Holly, and we'll see you all tomorrow evening.
Bye.